I'm Jody Avirgan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. You will love how good it tastes and feels to create home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Dowling Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do,
We
Mr.
get the
Rose?
people what they want.
The Cleveland Cavaliers were about to earn their 9th straight win in a row when they were playing the Miami Heat. LeBron James went to the basket. Here he is to his left. Got a little bump, nothing crazy, and then he got mad. He goes over to the official. He's cursing. The official didn't want to hear it and threw LeBron James out of the game. Bit controversial. Some people think it was a bit quick that he was thrown out. Do you think LeBron James is treated fairly by the referees?
All superstar players are treated fairly by the officials because in basketball, especially the NBA, there are different phases of who gets the call when.
Okay.
There are rookie calls, there are veteran calls, there are calls in the beginning of the game, there are fourth quarter calls, there are reach-ins, there are over the back. There are so many judgment calls. Block charge comes to mind. So based on that, when you have won as many MVPs and championships as LeBron James and accomplished so much in the league and become an iconic figure, of course you get preferential treatment from the officials, and rightfully so.
So he is, as you can see on the screen, he's averaging a career low of 5.4 free throws a game. Even though he is scoring around the bucket at his normal tick. And another thing is this, I think he's kind of getting Shaquille'd. Like, he's just so strong that the contact doesn't feel like contact. And he's so good at re-squaring his shoulders to the basket after taking the contact that the referee kind of feels like, oh, you should have made that shot anyway. Like, I actually feel like he should get more calls than he does, even though he is a superstar. Do you agree with that?
He doesn't do a lot of flopping. He doesn't do a lot of flailing.
Anymore. He used to flop.
Which is something that the officials sometimes fall for. But the reason why he doesn't get the calls based on you just giving his average free throw numbers being the lowest of his career, because he out there bullying. Mm-hmm. And when you're going through players on the post and on drives, and then you still finish it or you dunk over the top, there's no need to call a foul.
That's kind of how I feel it's happening. Like, I think he gets fouled a lot and doesn't get called because he's just like, the contact doesn't really dissuade him from what he was trying to do in the first place. The ref just sees him doing whatever he wants. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to give him another point for this take because he just got a layup off of this and there's 2 players on the ground from the opposing team.
That's the game within the game. How many times where he's going to do a reach-in and the 9th man is going to do a reach-in simultaneously, the other guy's going to get the foul called on him. That's just how it works in the game.
You know,
and when you're a
love?
superstar like LeBron James, when it's time for him to get the calls, guess what's going to happen? He will be going to the line.
Well, he did get kicked out. And remember he said that Enes Kanter always has something to say? You wouldn't believe this, but he got kicked out, and Enes Kanter had something to say. He fired up his Twitter fingers, put this out into the world, where he called the referee, Kane Fitzgerald, the king of Cleveland, his favorite playground. I always say you can be mean if you're funny. Is this mean? Is this funny? I also always say this, you want to beef up. Do you support Enes Kanter beefing up at LeBron James?
I do, because here's what has happened. Enes Kanter understands that you don't have to throw a punch or take a punch to make fans feel like you're about that life. And playing in New York City is just like playing in Detroit and a lot of other towns. We want a physically tough team that just so happens to be really good.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And so for Kanter, if he becomes the face of a team that will not back down, that will be physical, that will talk trash. He doesn't have to put in the physical work of a Charles Oakley for people to retire him immortally as that guy that went at the opposing players consistently.
Especially when it's LeBron James. Well, he also said this about going at opposing players. Here's what he told ESPN's Ian Bagley, quote, "I'm not going to tell who, but I told somebody, hey, man, go out there and fight with somebody. It will get the energy up. No, I'm serious. If you go out there and you just hit somebody or fight with somebody, just get a technical foul, I will pay the fine. I don't care. Just go out there, do your thing, because we need that energy. We need that fight. It doesn't matter if we're down by 25. A fight, get a technical foul, the crowd is in it, and they're going to get nervous." Jalen, I have a lot of questions about this, but first of all, is this something that NBA players do? Premeditated, technicals or hold me back moments to sort of juice up the home crowd?
The answer to that question directly is yes. But I want to peel back the onion a little bit more and talk about leadership.
Okay.
Because you don't have to tell me to go out and fight.
Thank you.
And you'll pay my fine. You go right ahead.
That's what I was wondering the whole time. I was like, was he at the end of the bench? Was he hurt? Was he in a suit? Was he allowed to play? Because this reminds me of something that you do sometimes. You do this, and you're guilty of this sometimes too. You know what you should do, Jacoby? Do you know what email you should write, Jacoby? And that's what I feel like Ennis Cantor was doing. You know what I mean? He was just like, he's like, do you know what we need right now? We need you to go out there and start a fight with Willie Reed. It's like, I don't want to start a fight with Willie Reed.
I'll pay the fine.
Yeah,
how about you pay your own fine?
Yeah, exactly. How about you go out there, you start a fight with Willie Reed, you pay your own fine, and you be that leader. I'm so glad you brought this up, Jalen, because that's exactly what I thought. That was my second question on this. Is like, how come he's telling someone else to do this? And that's exactly where you went first. I love doing this show with you, Jalen. Yep. So we asked the followers on our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed for their unpopular opinions, and they delivered. First one's from Torian.
Shout out.
Says, zone defenses should be banned at all levels of basketball. Makes the game slower and less exciting. Also doesn't help young players develop ball handling and passing skills because it forces young players into a jump shooting game. Jalen, do you agree with this unpopular opinion from Torian?
Not a fan of zone. Hated it as a player. To go against it, it almost was a sign of weakness for the opposing squad. In particular, when I was in high school and we were a really dominant number one team in the country type of squad. Mm-hmm. Big shout Howard Isley, Boshawn Leonard, multiple players that went on to play Division I basketball before me. Southwestern was a program, it was a movement. Perry Watson was our leader, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Yep. As soon as we saw a team go zone, we got so mad.
Why?
We really gonna kill y'all.
Why? See,
because
can I make the counter argument here?
It's a surrender.
Yep.
That's what that is. How many times have you been at the blackjack table, you looked at your hand and you looked at the dealer's hand, and you said, I'd rather lose half of my money, I'll surrender.
Oh, I do that sometimes.
Okay, I'm not surrendering.
I definitely do that sometimes. If I got 6 and they're showing a 10, I'll surrender. No problem. I ain't worried about it. I ain't a tough guy. I want my money. Money's important to me. The odds are I'm going to lose his hand, so I'll just lose half of it. No big deal.
There you go. That's
so
my
you
point
think
exactly.
Jim Boeheim's zoning schemes in Syracuse are a surrender? That's a weak way of playing defense.
You ready for this?
You're throwing this like masculinity into it. Like,
I'm
tough because I play man-to-man.
So a lot of people don't realize this. In high school, I gravitated to the schools where I saw people from Detroit that were my OGs have success.
Okay.
Anderson Hunt at UNLV.
Shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Coleman at Syracuse.
Shout out.
Steve Smith at Michigan State.
Shout out.
Jim Boeheim is one of the greatest coaches of all time. Played with my godfather, Dave Bing. Yep. One of the 50 greatest players of all time.
Yep.
Playing zone defense hampered Syracuse players, in my opinion, for a really long time playing at the next level.
Say it again. Say it again.
This is why, if you look back at the history of Syracuse basketball, by the way, which I'm a fan of. Again, I was going to go to Syracuse. I took a visit to Syracuse. Rest in peace, Conrad McRae. Big shout, Red Autry.
Shout out.
Sherman Douglas, Earl the Pearl, Billy Owens, his family. The list goes on and on. Okay? But for the level of success that
Earl
that
Monroe?
program had in college, you would have thought that they'd have, over that 20-year period, multiple players flooding the NBA. But when you look back at the history, that didn't necessarily happen. I think a large part of that was due to the fact that they primarily play zone defense.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. But here's what, I mean, there's a part of me that says, use your 5 players in whatever way you seem fit to stop this. You know what I mean? But then it just becomes chaos if you have no defense at 3 seconds. And it just kind of becomes chaos. Like, it just sort of like devolves into something that's not necessarily basketball. But do you think that you should be an arm's length away from your, the person that you're guarding? Like, that used to be the rule.
There's ways to modify it, but here's what I don't think. The reason why, and by the way, this is bogus. Why do American-born players need to attend college, yet international prospects can come right into the draft without an issue? I have a problem with that. Number one. Number two, I don't want to watch high school and college basketball when all of the rules are so different. It hampers the players. The lane line is different.
The shot clock is the worst.
The three-point line is different.
The shot clock is the worst.
The ball is different. The shot clock doesn't exist in most cities.
The shot clock thing is there's a shot at this time in high school. There's a shot clock pretty much everywhere. But the college game with the extra seconds on the shot clock dramatically changes the way possessions work. Like, you'll just watch them dump it into the post, then he'll dribble 3 times, kick it back out, they'll dump it back in, kick it back out, then the point guard will back up, call a brand new play, and they'll run a second action in one possession. It just feels broken for someone that watches so much NBA. I'm like, you shouldn't be able to do that.
I can't tell you how many times I was standing on the court in college basketball and what you just described happened, and I'm out here like, really? Like, it takes way too long. The clock was 45 seconds when I was in college.
When you were in college, it was insane. 45 seconds is insane. Imagine there's 44 seconds on the clock. It's like, oh, we got a foul. We got a foul. They can just run it out. We got a foul. Remember the 4 corners?
Yes.
Yeah, remember 4 corners?
Of course I remember 4 corners.
College game.
Do I remember it? North Carolina ran it against us.
It was just like, what is 4 corners? What is this? If you look back at some of those games, you're like, what am I watching right now? This is not like, no one's trying to put the ball in the basket.
And by the way, no shade, North Carolina, who plays against Michigan tonight.
First time since the
beat
title
us
game.
Fair and square. Shout to their squad, Donald Williams, who put the smack down on us. George Lynch, Eric Montrose, the great Dean Smith. But afterwards, when it was time to go to the after party, they was waiting in line. Now back to my initial story. Because the rules are so very different, and you're talking about zone, here's one thing that we didn't mention that's distinctly different in high school and college that you can't do in the NBA. You can stand a dude right in front of the basket and he never has to move.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, especially if you have especially in high school, if you have a guy who's like 6'8" or 6'9", it's just kind of like it's almost like putting like a tree there. It's just like a rim protection. Doesn't have to do anything. But here's one thing: so you always look at things through the Division I college lens and the pro basketball lens. And what lens do I look at things through when it comes to basketball, Jalen?
Street ball.
Exactly. And it's never since I moved to Los Angeles did anyone ever ask this question. In Los Angeles, they legit ask this question before you check up the ball. You guys want to play zone?
What? Stop.
Yeah, in pick up basketball outdoors. It's happened multiple times. You guys want to play zone? And then one time I was guarding somebody, they're like, we're in a zone. And I was just like, what? We're in a zone? Like, what are we going to practice? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to fall? 1-3-1, we'll fall back and do a 2-3. Like, what is this? What is this pickup, man? This is pickup.
I understand that when you're a coach, your roster is going to have limitations. And I just saw the Dallas Mavs play zone against, I think it was the Golden State Warriors, and beat them this year. They did a really.
They did.
No, was it the Golden State Warriors?
I don't know.
They were going against a team that didn't shoot the ball well, one of the better teams in the league. I saw them playing zone, and they actually beat the team.
Whatever works. And
Rick Carlisle actually did that for the Mavs when they played against LeBron and the Heat in the finals. So I understand that there is a place for zone, but I definitely think you should not be allowed to exclusively play zone, especially in high school and in college. The game is so very different from the pro.
It gets complicated. One thing about this is it's just a messy part of the game because it gets complicated when you try to write the rules. You know, at first it was you have to be within arm's length, but that's kind of ridiculous. Then you just got to beat your man. Next thing you know, you're at the basket, and then it's like, all right, well, you can be anywhere you want. Well, you need defense in 3 seconds. You can't just have people hanging out in the lane, and then it's sort of turned into what we have today. And I don't really necessarily know how to solve the problem, but I know this: it will never stop me from complaining about the problem. One very quick, unpopular opinion. This is from Nicholas. You better listen. Oh, also, Jalen's hairline isn't that great. Sorry, bruh. Can I defend you on this one? Because I know you don't like to talk about yourself that much. I know you do, but defend yourself that much. Jalen isn't alone in celebrating his hairline. It'd be one thing if Jalen was the only person that thought Jalen had a great hairline, but when people come to the show, they mention your hairline. Like, it's become legendary. It's something that's celebrated beyond you. So it's one thing if you were just always talking about how great your hairline is, which you do from time to time. But I also want to say, it doesn't look great right now. Doesn't look great right now.
I'm wolfing it right now.
Doesn't look great right now.
When you're trying to have them spinning, you got to wolf it for a few days. So when you get a fresh cut, it can be crispy. And we go on television Thursday at 10:30 a.m.
I can't believe I do a radio show.
I will be sitting in the barber chair at 8:30 a.m.
I do a radio show with a guy who just said, if you want to have them spinning, you got to woof it for a while. I don't understand what that means, but I really enjoy listening to it.
Wear woof. Wear it long, like people do sometimes with their beard. Sometimes people do with their hair.
I understand what it means. I was just sort of, a little hyperbole there. It's exaggerating a little bit for the sake of the bit.
Got it.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
So, Mirotic is making his way back to the Bulls. He was on the sideline. We all know what happened. If you don't know what happened, Bobby Portis and Mirotic are on an NBA team called the Bulls. They're very bad this year. You might have heard them through Michael Jordan. They're not going through that phase right now.
My guy's coming back soon. Let me just throw that out there.
I know. Jalen's got a guy on the team, Zach LaVine.
Shout out.
Zach LaVine must be paying him or something as a publicist because Jalen's been talking about Zach LaVine forever.
I know he's throwing shots, but I told you this about Embiid. I told you this about Avery Bradley. Look at what the Pistons are doing.
And Mirotic is coming back soon, so he's joining the team. And Bobby Portis and Mirotic had a fist fight. It was reported that Mirotic was the aggressor. However, Mr. Portis was the Finisher, we'll call it. There was a punch landed that broke the jaw, I believe, or dislocated the jaw, something like that. And they haven't spoken. And then Portis apologized, and Mirotic accepted his apology. How do you think that went? Take us behind the curtain.
Here's how it goes. We need to coexist for our jobs.
Yep.
And for the dynamics of the team. It just so happens that we play the same position. Oh, and by the way, I beat you up. So I don't have a true problem apologizing because I gave you hands.
So here's what I want to ask you. This is how I look through things. Like, as you get older, you get mature, you understand how the world works better. And I always envision someone at a bar after 3 drinks talking to their best friend, right? So if you're Bobby Portis right? And I'm Bobby Portis' best friend. And we're at a bar, and we've had 3 beers and 1 shot of Jameson. Okay? And I'm like, Bobby, what's up with you and Miritich now? What do you say?
Cool. We good.
But what happened between y'all?
Oh, I had to put them hands on them.
Yeah, you're real proud about it, and you're also just like, oh, yeah, I apologize, but I didn't mean it. They made me apologize. I'm not apologizing.
He meant it.
He wanted
the person that won the fight apologize in a minute. Because he don't want it to continue to escalate.
So now
Bobby Portis, see here, I don't want to throw some theories out there, but
oh, why not? Let's be responsible journalists.
I mean, here's how you do that. Oh, you want to put your hands on me? Okay. Wait till he get in the shower. I'm coming in there with the 10 boots on and all my clothes.
You think that'll happen? No. No. Not in the National Basketball Association in 2017.
I'm just saying if you won't get back.
Yeah, sure. I also want to do this little role play. You're Miritich. We've had 3 beers and a shot of Jameson, and I'm Miritich's best friend from the homeland. And I go over there and I say, Miritich, what happened that day between you and Bobby Portis?
Oh, he sucker punched me.
Sucker punch. I knew that was what you were saying. Oh, he sucker punched me. He sucker punched me out of nowhere.
We was beefing,
I wasn't even looking.
And
we were
everybody
talking.
tried to hold me back
Yep.
once he hit me, and I didn't really get a chance to get mine off, and he punched me a couple of more times. I'm going to get him back.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they're talking about. I know that's exactly what they're talking about because you kind of have to do that. So the Lakers play the Warriors, Jalen. And there's been some interesting back and forth a little bit but about Lonzo Ball. And Steph Curry and KD, the 2 most prominent Warriors, who didn't play against the Kings when they lost, they have sort of come out in support of Lonzo in advance of this matchup. They've kind of come out and said that Lonzo's been sort of unfairly targeted. Do you believe that to be true?
Unfairly targeted? No.
That's not a direct quote from them, but that's kind of what they say. That he's had it tough.
NBA, no boys allowed. No. This is what comes with playing in the game. Mm-hmm. Whether you're undrafted, whether you're a free agent, whether you went in the second round, whether you went late in the first round. But definitely if you went in the lottery. No doubt if you went in the top 5. And absolutely if you was in the top 3. No question.
So,
if I take you in the top 3, I'm expecting you to go on to be in the Hall of Fame one day.
Wow.
That's what that means.
I'm
expecting a perennial
I hope Anthony
all-star.
Bennett's not listening. So there's also the flip side of this where Wendy had a thing yesterday where he said that there's a sentiment around the league that's sort of jealous might not be the right word, but there's some resentment towards Lonzo because of all the attention that he gets. So, Wendy, of course, didn't name names, but you can imagine if you're a role player that has been in the league for a few years that has earned sort of their way in the NBA or earn their veteran status, or if you're a rookie who's performing better than Lonzo, that you feel like, why is everybody always talking about Lonzo just because his dad's got a loud mouth?
Nobody's jealous of him. Let me just put that on wax.
Okay.
What happens is you get drafted by a storied franchise, therefore your press clippings are going to be more abundant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it works. It's the people that's speaking on his behalf. LeVar Ball, big baller brand, Magic Johnson, Hall of Fame mogul, went to UCLA, got drafted by the hometown team. I mean, this is just the hype that comes with the territory. And then they put it on steroids by a lot of the antics that not only his dad, but Lonzo quietly has some antics too.
Wait a second. He do
some quiet, braggadocious posts.
Sure. He's got rap singles, and he wants to put himself out there. I think he's got a reputation of being like this quiet choir boy, but he does have a music career. That if you're trying to avoid the limelight, you don't exactly hit the studio.
So what happens next is the Golden State Warriors missed the previous game against the Kings. Unfortunately, they lost the game, but they about to beat the brakes off Alonzo and the Lakers. That was
Rested
the goal.
off a loss. I watched that Kings game, and it came down to Bogdanovich being guarded by Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green, and Bogdanovich took it right at him and scored. How many times have we seen Draymond make that block? Like, how many times have you seen Draymond come up big in the end of a game when the Warriors need to stop? When I saw that matchup, I was like, oh, he better pass. Because I've seen this movie before, and it always ends with Draymond blocking a shot.
Bogdanovich can get buckets.
Oh, yeah, he can get buckets. If you're not watching the Kings, there's some players that are interesting. Cauley Stein, who I have slandered on this program. I'm going to say it. I have slandered Cauley Stein on this program, but you know what? I'll always admit when I'm wrong. Just because I pick something doesn't mean that I'm not going to look at it and change my opinion. I like the way Cauley Stein has performed this year.
He's long.
Yeah, and he blocks shots.
He's active.
He blocks shots. I like Cauley Stein a lot more this year than what I've seen from him from other years. Now, Kevin Love is having to guard centers. He's had to guard Whiteside. He's had to guard Dwight Howard. And he had to guard Joel Embiid. This I found interesting. I want you to take us behind the curtain on this. Kevin Love reportedly apologized to LeBron James after a tough night against Embiid. If you remember this game, it wasn't close. You know what I'm not doing? And again, I'm not an NBA player. I'm just some schmuck. But I'm not apologizing to my teammate after we lose by 20. I mean, if we win by 20. If we win by 23, and if my man scored 30 and whatever, that's fine. Got the W. Why am I apologizing? Take us behind the curtain. What happened there?
They probably had team goals about not letting him get his numbers.
Ooh, talk to me about this.
When you go into a matchup, a lot of times, of course, you're going to key on the people that you want to stop. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure you beat them to shut them up. But there probably was a certain milestone or a number that they didn't want him to score.
How often does that happen? Is this a regular practice?
That happens all of the time.
Really?
No question about it.
How come I don't hear about that? No one in the press conference said, we didn't want him to get 20, and he ended up getting 21, so I'm upset.
Because that's why I'm bringing you behind the curtain.
I love it when you take us behind the curtain. So talk to me about these goals, these little milestones. Is there financial incentive involved?
Well, they used to be when you could there was a different NBA at that time where there was fiscal dynamics. Hey, if such and such don't get 25 points, then I give you $500.
I like it. I like it.
No doubt about it.
How come we don't do this on the show? Like, if you make some smooth transitions, I'll give you $100. Like, all right. You know, you would be like, if we start on time, I'm giving everybody $20.
Boom. There you go. That's very nice.
Would it just be points? Like, talk to me about this. I'm really curious about this. You see, this is one thing that we need to say about this program.
It could be the thing that makes the player tick. So if you're going with John Stockton, you want to keep his assists down. If you're going with Dennis Rodman, you want to keep his rebounds down.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because usually that's also going to lead to your team winning. So when you play against Steph Curry, you want to talk about keeping his threes down.
So if Steph gets less than 3 threes today, you get $500. Would you only do that with young players, or would you incentivize veterans like that too?
Well, this is how you used to creatively use the fine money. Like, teams used to distribute the fine money and keep it amongst the players. Where you shoot half-court shots.
So if, let's say you would never do this. Let's say one of your teammates gets ejected from a game and uses a profanity at a cameraman.
Hit the brakes. That's the league money you talking about right there.
Oh, okay, that's what I was saying. So this is the team fine money. So if you're late to a meeting, that's the fine money. Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. So the team fine money goes into a jar and then gets redistributed through. You know this is completely illegal, right? You know this, right?
Well, if you Uncle Sam, it is.
This allegedly might have happened. Maybe.
It's not illegal.
You
Think
heard about
this.
something like this happening?
You have a player right now with the Knicks telling people that if they got suspended, he would pay their fine. That used to happen all of the time in the game. And so it's just a different era, and also those things cost more. But I want to just say this on wax. I've talked about this forever, and I'm going to mention it again when we talk about the NFL and what they're talking about doing to enhance what the players have done as it relates to they're protesting during the national anthem of social equality and police injustice and things of that nature. Adam Silver, terrific commissioner. I'm giving him something that's a game-changing idea. The fine money for those 30 NBA teams need to stay in said city. So therefore, if the Brooklyn Nets have X amount of money on technical fouls, suspensions, ejections, coaches' fines, whatever they are, at the end of the year, there should be a big check that gets distributed or multiple checks that get distributed that go back into that community.
I agree.
Not to something that's infinite, like NBA Cares, which does a terrific job.
Of course, no shots at
globally.
NBA Cares, but that's
No doubt about it.
that's a big bucket.
But I would like to see that money redistributed into the community that supports that local team.
I think that is inevitably going to happen, like 1 through 16 seeding, like the Washington football team changing their name. This makes a lot of sense. And since you have a charitable organization in the city of Detroit, I'm sure there are some players that you wouldn't mind getting traded to the Pistons to, bring some more money back into the community. Let's get Rasheed Wallace back out there. Let's make him an assistant coach or something. Get some money back into the Detroit community. That's a win-win for everybody. Who doesn't want to see Sheed on the bench for the Detroit Pistons? And he's going to get kicked out of some games. He's going to get fined even though he's not playing. And that money goes right back into the community and to JRLA, which you can look into if you go to jrladetroit.com.
Shout out.
Jalen, this is interesting. On Monday, the NFL submitted to the Players Coalition a final draft of a proposal that, according to documents reviewed by ESPN, would contribute nearly around something like $100 million to causes considered important to the African American communities. In doing so, the NFL hopes that this will effectively end the peaceful yet controversial movement kneeling for the anthem that was started by former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Jalen, this is going to be reviewed by the coalition on Wednesday evening. We'll learn more about this as it goes on. But something about this doesn't really sit right. Does this feel like the players are trying to buy the end of the protest?
First and foremost, Colin Kaepernick, you created a $100 million conversation between players and owners.
Obviously, I meant the owners are trying to buy the end of the protest.
Big shout to Colin. Well-deserved GQ Man of the Year. Created a $100 million conversation. I have some advice for the players. Don't do it.
Ooh.
Please don't do it.
Why is that, Mr. Rose?
I'm not going to get too caught up in the math. But when you say $100 million, that's the splashy headline that's there to purchase the conscience, the fans, the media, and by the way, to shut y'all up. Y'all been having a loud voice since the beginning of this season, and we trying to muzzle that as much as we can. When you do certain math, it's 32 teams in the NBA. So that's over $3 million per owner. That's not a lot of money overall. And if you're going to do it over 7 years, that's about $400,000 a year. What? We're not going to look to a dollar figure to be a game changer. And you're going to see a lot of people comment on this topic.
Explain.
And when they finish, you ask them, how much have you given back to the community? You also ask them this, do you have a foundation? Also ask them this, do you show up at functions when you're not getting paid? And so what ends up happening is, as somebody like me who has dedicated himself to trying to give back to his community, blood, sweat, and tears, time, energy, money, sweat equity, it becomes more than just a dollar figure. That's why when you come to JRLA, I'm not on the donor board. Nope. For that exact reason. So based on what the players want to get accomplished, you can't put a dollar figure on that. And it's going to be interesting to see if they agree to the deal. But more importantly is when you say, issues related to the players and to the African American community, is that something the league is picking? Is that something the players are picking? Are we dictating where the money goes and when it goes there? If these things aren't happening streamlined, don't take the deal.
It just also feels to me that a bunch of billionaires are doing what billionaires do. They're like, oh, we have a problem. What should we do? Throw money at the problem. You know what we're going to do? We're going to throw money at this problem. It's also a term that we use in production. Is throw money at the problem, it'll go away. And you know what's not going to happen? You can't throw money at institutional racism. You know what I mean? And make it go away. Like this is certainly a step, and money is part of the process. But money alone is not going to, never say solve, but money alone is not going to create the sort of change which the players are asking for through this protest. And it also feels like it would cheapen the movement if this sort of a gesture ended it. Does that seem fair to say?
Absolutely. The gesture happened a couple of ways. When Jerry Jones had his squad take a knee prior to the anthem to agree to stand for the anthem, then he came out later and contradicted the whole scenario. When you have 45 going to Twitter and he's calling the NFL players out of their name, that all now derails from why initially Colin Kaepernick chose that venue to express himself, and so many players followed, to now we're going to accept the dollar figure and we're just going to go be quiet. No, it doesn't work like that. It's not about the money. I got to tell you a word that continues to get lost.
What's that?
Power. Is what it's about.
Money,
and
power,
to
respect.
your point, you can't purchase that.
I don't think we've heard the end of this. As I mentioned, the Players Coalition is getting together on Wednesday night to discuss this. I do not think that they will flatly accept this. I think it's the start of a long conversation / negotiation. But money alone cannot create the change that this community needs. Next, Eli Manning has started 210 games for the Giants consecutively. The streak has gone on for a long time, and it will end this Sunday as head coach Bob McAdoo has announced that Geno Smith, yes, that Geno Smith, will be the starter for the New York Giants. Jalen, let's listen to Eli, who reacted to this news.
It's hard. It's been a hard day to handle this, but hang in there and figure it out.
Hardest things the Giants, you can say?
It's up there, yeah.
Do you feel like you might have started your last game for the Giants?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll take it one week at a time.
Emo Eli makes me sad, Jalen. Are the Giants doing Emo Eli dirty?
No. Here's what I want everyone to understand. First and foremost, Eli Manning has started his last football game as the quarterback of the New York Football Giants.
Oh, really? Really?
What? He will, in my opinion, end up in Jacksonville with Tom Coughlin or end up in Denver following his brother's footsteps.
I like this, too.
Putting that on wax.
Fun theories.
Number two, what does Eli or the team have to gain by trotting him out there for the rest of the year? Get him hurt?
They don't have much to gain whatsoever. I mean, Eli Manning is a veteran. He doesn't need the experience. And another thing we know about this whole thing, that the thing that no one's really talking about is Ben McAdoo is not going to be the coach next year of this team. So whatever moves he makes, it's just going to all get wiped clean the second after Week 17 is over.
And it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. The entire team has not performed the way it did last year. He, as a quarterback, has continued to decline with his performance overall. Mm-hmm. So regardless to who they're going to start, they're cleaning house, period, as you just mentioned. And so you don't want him to get injured because you can't trade him. Everybody's missing the point. If he goes out there and he gets hurt or he continues to play bad football, now you hurt his value even more.
I just want to say this in my defense. Bob McAdoo would probably be a better head football coach for the Giants than Ben McAdoo. Since we only got to a couple of our Twitter questions, I think we'll be taking more of them. First question we have is from one of our co-producers. This is Allie, one of our female co-producers.
Shout out.
Is it a boss move to pick out my boyfriend's clothes because his style is trash? No. It's a boss move to call his style trash on your favorite podcast, though.
here's what's always a boss move: making your mate better.
Oh, I like that. It's a good angle. Keep it positive.
And so there are going to be things that your spouse, your significant other, is better than you at, and or vice versa. It may be cooking. What about cooking a certain dish? What about fashion? What about driving when you're in a rush or when you're on a long trip? Whatever the case may be, a true support staff allows the other person to take the lead, and it's okay, especially if what the person puts together they like.
And you know how it works in my house is there's veto power, you know? Like my wife just has straight veto power. If it, you know, if we're about to go somewhere and she'll look at it and she'll just be like, no, like no, like no, that's not going to happen. And usually she's right. But if she picked out my clothes, I would look very, very different. And I don't think anyone would like it except for her. Next question we have is from Glenn. Not so much a question, just curious as to your opinions on the Tennessee football coaching situation.
I think when you're in a position of leadership as an AD and you decide to hire Greg Schiano and you sign the letter of intent and he signs it, you bring him to coach your football team. The backlash that you get if you did your intel and are comfortable with the fact that you believe that he did not know the heinous acts of his fellow assistant Jerry Sandusky were taking place, if you were comfortable with that and you understand that to be the case, then you hire him. Because I think if the latter was in tow, you wouldn't have hired him. So for you to get a public outcry and a couple of tweets and a couple of protesters to go back on your decision, that makes you look weak. Now, for the fans, I want to point something out to you. It shows you have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people talk about what they don't like, but they still support it. If you find ways to voice your opinion for things you don't like and you don't support, change does happen. You know a code word for that?
What's that?
It's called protest. It's how this country was founded. It just looks a lot different in this arena than it does when players are doing it pregame at a football game. Makes you say,
Adam has a great question.
Shout out.
From a podcast standpoint, what are the influence that the Podfather had on you guys? Shout out from Manila. Love you guys. Well, the Podfather's he's the Podfather of the whole game. We're just like Michael Corleone, you know? We're like Sonny. I like to say Sonny and Michael. Some would say Fredo and Michael. You know?
And Vito.
But he's Vito. The Podfather's Vito. You know? The Podfather's Vito. But I would say that the Podfather was the first person to ever put me on a microphone. You know? So he gave me my shot. And in terms of his influence, in terms of content that he has had, is one thing I learned from the Podfather is speak with people that you're comfortable with. You know? Speak with people that you're comfortable with. And that has helped in that sort of foundation of relationship has helped the success of this pod. Shout out to the Podfather and everybody at The Ringer.
Shout out.
No doubt about it. The Podfather helped in so many different aspects to name. First off, content creation and ideas and segments and thoughts and how to articulate them. I'm truly grateful for my brother for giving us a vehicle to say whatever I want to say about anything. That's really important. And the other thing I'm truly grateful for, the immortals you see behind us on the walls.
Jalen, I have some news for you, right? Because me and you want this show to grow, and so does the staff. We want the show to grow. We always want it to become bigger and better, right? That's one of our goals. You know, the more that we sell out and the more the show grows, the less we can say whatever we want about whatever we want. You know that,
right? He allowed me to carry a bat.
You know that's how it goes. He didn't know you were carrying a bat.
Like, why is he holding that?
You got to bring the bat out more. Can we do that in 2018? Can the bat come out more for segments in 2018?
Done deal.
I missed the bat.
You just know what's going to happen. We're on TV now, and there are going to be people that's been working here 30 years who didn't realize I've been carrying a bat for 6 years.
You'll get an email, why is Jalen carrying a bat? And then we'll answer, and then they'll write, well, can he not do that? And then we'll stop doing it.
He only been doing it for 6 years.
And then we'll stop
doing it. Matter of fact, it's in the logo.
And then we'll stop doing it.
Matter of fact, it's in the logo.
Co-producer Matthias has an unpopular opinion that Billy Donovan will get fired and Mark Jackson will take over the Thunder. See, he listens to the show. He knows this would get you. He knows that would get you. Do you think Mark Jackson would be a better coach for the Oklahoma City Thunder than Billy Donovan, based on your information?
Coaching is about knowing the pulse of your team and being able to get the most out of each individual. Right now, Billy Donovan has not been able to do that with this current iteration of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So far.
And even if it's not in Oklahoma City, do not be surprised if and when not only Mark Jackson, but David Fizdale are quickly back coaching in the league.
Don't forget, Jalen predicts that David Fizdale will coach the Los Angeles Clippers. Jalen Rose, there is a new trend for the holiday season, and I support it. Upside-down Christmas trees are coming. They are exactly what you think they are. They are Christmas trees that are upside down. You might think that's silly, but they look awesome. The ornaments hang better. They look funky. This one has roots on it. Do you support the upside-down Christmas tree movement?
I do not support the movement. I appreciate and want my Christmas tree as traditional as possible. I'm not mad at those that do it. It's a terrific holiday. One of my favorites. I'm happy that they're being creative with their Christmas tree, but it's not something I will be participating in.
I support the upside-down Christmas tree. So Victor Oladipo.
Oladipo.
He was traded to the Pacers, and before that he was traded to the Magic, and it seemed like all of this got to him. He said to the Bleacher Report, quote, being traded twice, it makes you feel people don't want you. You start second-guessing yourself. Doubt starts to creep in a bit. Jalen, you may or may not have been traded 16 or 17 times in the NBA. How much of this is real?
It's not about a salary. It's all about reality. What he said is actually true. The two teams that traded you, they didn't want you.
Oh, okay.
They didn't.
So how do you not let the doubt creep in as it did for him?
Because the two teams that are going to pay you millions of dollars to play basketball did want you.
I suppose that would take a little bit of the sting out of it.
You do it.
And then you just ball out like Oladipo's doing right now, and everything's all good. Shout to Lance Stevenson, who's been so hot lately. I'm back on.
Victor,
I'm back on, Lance.
It's great to see him playing up to his potential. You so die easy with Lance and teams and whatever.
He's playing well. I'm back on. Next, we have this. First of all, big shout to The Ringer and JJ Redick. JJ Redick took his podcast over to the Podfathers Ringer Network. Shout to them. And his first guest was Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid said a stupid 69 joke, and then Jalen called him unprofessional, and then Joel Embiid went on the 6 and said an 81 joke, and we thought it was all over. But, of course, JJ Redick, being a good host, trying to be controversial, asked him about it, and Joel responded.
So the thing with Jalen was, I made a comment. I was a random number. I was at 69%. I didn't know what else they were talking about or what else they were thinking. I'm from Africa. I'm new, basically still new in the States, so I don't know what's going on here. And I don't know why people were making fun of that number. I actually had no idea.
Do you believe that Joel Embiid had no idea why people were making fun of that number?
I don't. And I'm not going to go back and forth with a 23-year-old future star in the game because he has a long way to go before he actually becomes a vet, and I'm rooting for that. I'm here to say what I mean and mean what I say. And when you're talking post-game, to a woman reporter, in the future, I guarantee you, if they ask him what percentage he is as it relates to his health, he will not use 69%. Because whether it was the team, whether it was a media relations person, somebody in his family, somebody that is in his represents him, would have told him that that's not appropriate. And that's exactly what I said. It's not personal.
And if none of those people did it, guess what? OG Jalen Rose did. Moving on. Jay-Z and Beyonce. Jay-Z's done this new interview with the New York Times, and now he has this theory of this. And me and Jalen have seen through this the whole time. His theory was that they were working on a joint album together when Beyonce broke away without him knowing and made the Lemonade album about Jay-Z's reported infidelity. And then, of course, he came out with 444, where he poured out his soul about the problems in the family. Do you think all of this is just another way of manipulating us and teasing a future joint album between the two of them?
So here's what I want to put out there. Different phases of my life, I had a favorite MC. My last favorite MC is Jay-Z.
So he's your current favorite MC?
He and Eminem. Okay. My two favorites.
Okay.
Along with all Detroit acts, as you know. With that being said, I never knew that the guy that I heard freestyling in the studio with Big L would not only become the multi-million-dollar conglomerate that he has on his own and be a game changer as an artist, as an entrepreneur. He married Beyonce?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about dropping the mic. She's successful, talented, hardworking. The list goes on the Wednesday about the things she's accomplished. 2 billionaires in the same place at the same time. They're not going to jeopardize their bread or their relationship for some foolishness on wax.
Are the Juggalos also one of your favorite MCs right now? Because they're a Detroit act.
Yes.
You're the best. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll play on the show, just like this.
Hey guys, what up, dog? This is Alex calling from London in the UK. And as part of Women Crush Wednesday, I want to give a big shout out to my lovely boyfriend, Adam. He's written me a little something that I'm going to share here. So, hey, it's Alex from London. I'm a self-confessed part of a power couple. And my partner, Adam, is a die-hard Knicks fan and mega fan of yours. And it's also his birthday this weekend. So he's getting me to call into you guys because he wants some love from the show. So, 3 things he'd like to know. 1, he has asked me to arrange a comedy roast for him. Is this a boss move? 2, Jacoby, as a man nearing 40 and Jalen as a man past this milestone but looking more like 30, have you got any advice to share with Adam? 3, sorry to ask this, but are the Knicks making the playoffs this year? Shout out to Reggie, Finger Roll Jones, Baron, Tanner, Curtis, Alex, Kaylee, Allison, and Big Crown. Oh yeah, and Big Crown, I hear you're a mailman, and listen, I'm waiting on a really important birthday present to be shipped from the US to me here in the UK. Where's it at, man? Peace and love. Bye.
One of my favorite callers of all time.
There's so much there. One of the things I love about it is she started asking Big Crown questions. Like, people aren't asking me and you questions anymore. Now they're asking our associate producers that we've never met before questions. Big Crown is the best. Big, as far as I'm concerned, Big Crown runs all parcel services all throughout the world. So let's get to some of the things. One thing I want to say is, if you want to get on the show, all you got to do is just have your girl calling, and then you get a shout-out. That's how it works, because we always celebrate the women, and females that give us good calls, we're going to put on every time. So her first question, Jalen. Adam, her boyfriend, shout to him. He's a big fan of the show and the Knicks. He asked Alex to put on a comedy roast in his honor. Is that a soft move or a boss move?
That's a soft move.
It is, Adam. I respect you. Any fan of the program is a friend of mine. But asking your wife to put on a comedy roast for you, it reminds me of my wife constantly reminding me that she's never had a surprise party. Constantly. She said this year, I'm going to throw myself a surprise party.
That's hilarious.
But you can't ask your wife to put on a comedy roast. That's something that needs to happen naturally for you. And I don't know if you want those problems. Because there's always that one friend that gets that crosses the line a little bit. And next thing you know, Alex has some very pointed questions for you after you've had a couple and everyone's gone home. But I always appreciate international callers.
No doubt.
You know?
And again, shout out to Alex. Big shout out to London in the UK, her boyfriend Alex.
Adam's
Big Crown, don't get caught up by Alex by sending her no birthday gift.
That's a trap, Big Crown.
The American translation may be a little bit different from what she was actually trying to say.
That's a trap. That's a trap. No, she's waiting for something else from the States.
No
because,
doubt.
Big Crown runs all parcel services.
No doubt about it.
And
Big
then,
Crown was a part of the Horse and Carriage.
And the Pony Express. Horses and Carriage is an excellent song by Cameron. And we
Mace.
have this. Are the Knicks going to make the playoffs?
Here's the thing. 6, 7, and 8 in the East are going to hover around 500 or be below.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not picking those spots right now. The Knicks are one of the 5 teams that possibly will qualify for those 3 spots.
Yep.
They're in the mix.
They're in the mix. But I wouldn't bet on it. Let's just say that. The Knicks season could go a lot of different ways from here on out. But I always appreciate international fans. Shout to Alex. Shout to Adam. Enjoy your birthday, even if it is a comedy roast. Another thing you got to remember is your friends aren't comedians, I'm guessing. You know what I mean? So that can just be awkward. I saw it on an episode of Vanderpump Rules once. It was very awkward.
Jacoby always stresses you could be mean if you're funny. The problem is if your friends aren't funny, all they're going to do is be mean.
It's a great point by you, Jalen Rose. It's a great point. You be mean if you're funny, but they're just going to end up being mean. You can have all your friends on your own birthday to come through just to hurt your feelings. I don't want to have a comedy roast because I know what the people are going to say. It's going to make me cry. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Don't forget, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. We'll take all kinds of questions about anything. And since it is Wednesday, and every Wednesday we celebrate the women around the world, this is all female voicemails, this segment. So please call in, leave us voicemails, and we'll play them on the show just like this.
Hi, Jalen. Hey, Jacoby. This is Jennifer Ransom calling from Portland, Oregon. I'm calling for a few reasons on this Women Crush Wednesday. Number 1 is to wish my man of 9 years, Greg, a very happy golden birthday. 29 on the 29th. I love you, babe. We listen every day. Now, number 2. I want to thank you for giving the people what they want by honoring teachers on the pod. As a special ed teacher myself, knowing that we are making a difference means everything. Greg and I actually met working at a program for special needs children and adults. Okay, number 3. I'm putting it on wax. Do not change your intro. This is synonymous with the podcast. All right, shout out to the whole crew. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate the love, Jennifer, representing Portland. What up, though, Greg, of 9 years? We support power couples on this program.
Always.
Hopefully they continue to go strong.
Always support educators in this program.
As a high school graduate, a collegiate graduate, and a current founder of a tuition-free public charter high school that's open enrollment, that also caters to special needs students, I truly appreciate the work that's done by all teachers and educators, the sacrifice, the diligence that comes with your job, the patience that you need to have when dealing with young people on a daily basis. I wish the world would stop on its axis right now and pay each of you double. That's how much I truly appreciate your work. Going to school is one of those things that we underestimate, that regardless of race, religion, or creed, we all have in common. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you grow up in or your fiscal background or dynamic. When you're in elementary school, you're waking up in the morning going to school.
Yep.
When you're in middle school, you're waking up going to school. There are people out there that get homeschooled. There's certain exceptions. But we all have that in common. And I'm glad that they were able to meet under that dynamic.
You know that both of my parents are educators?
I did not.
And they also met under that dynamic at Southern Methodist University in the great state of Texas. They met. Oh, no, they didn't meet there. That's my bad. They met at Stanford University. They were English majors. You know, if you finish college and then you go on to like another college, you're just procrastinating. That's my hot take. That's one of my education hot takes. Is people that go to college after college, like, y'all just don't want to be real people.
I have the number one education hot take for all collegiate students, all high school students, middle school, elementary students, regardless of your GPA, regardless of your test score.
What's that?
If you continue to improve and work hard every day, people don't ask you, where did you start your freshman, sophomore, and junior year? They ask you, where did you graduate from college?
Yes, good point. Good point.
So if you need to start off at a junior college,
community college,
if you need to work your way up to college or university, do that.
I love
People
this.
only ask you, where did you go to graduate?
College? They don't even say graduate, to be honest with you. They say, where did you go to college? That's what people say. Where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to college? And you don't have to say, I went to, Springfield, Mass, JCC for 2 years, and then I transferred into Harvard. You just say Harvard, and it's a wrap. Another thing, what you major in doesn't really matter. Just going to throw that out there. What you major in doesn't really, really matter. It does matter in terms of your curriculum, what type of classes you will be taking. Of course, it changes what classes you take in college. That information gets into your brain. It changes the way you think for the rest of your life. I get that. But, if you were, say, business, if you majored in pre-med, that doesn't mean you can't be an artist. It's not like when you make these decisions, you're not cutting yourself off from alternate paths.
Preach.
You can always adjust mid-course in your life. Shout out to Jennifer and Greg. I got to say, though, I just want to know for all future callers of this program, as someone who's been doing this for a long time, I can always tell when you're reading. I can always tell when you're reading. And that was a written statement. Greg was standing right next to her, looking over her shoulder, like, no, that one wasn't good. Erase it. We got to do that again. You mess up that one line about giving the people what they want.
Hey, Jacobs.
Uh-oh. Whenever you say that, that's Darrell Revis right there. What's happening, Darrell?
I just wanted the fans to make sure that they watched us on First Take Thursday.
Great point.
Shout out.
Thursday, tomorrow,
tell
First
a friend
Take.
To tell a friend.
The greatest, the best hosted program in the history of television, First Take on ESPN, replaying on ESPN2. The two great duos will be appearing. Two legendary duos. One, just a couple guys named Jalen and Jacoby. Another, some legends of the game named Fab and Jadakiss. That's all tomorrow on First Take. Make sure you tune in. Thank you so much for listening to Jalen Jacoby. We'll be off tomorrow. That means we will not have a fresh Jalen and Jacoby, but we will have a dope pod to step to. We will be uploading one of David Jacoby's other pods. That's me. I just used my third person with me and Kian Fahy, an Irish gentleman who speaks about football. So that'll be tomorrow. If you're not into that, don't worry. We'll be back with a dope pod to step to, Jalen and Jacoby, on Friday.